All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. As you can see in the last video, I began the conversion of our BMI GUI app from ADO.NET to EF or Entity Framework Core. All right, I ran into some problems. Let's talk about how we can fix those right now. All right, I'm going to bring back up the validation library.proj file. Okay, if you remember, I had these errors and all of them were in the validation both routine. And they all were because we were trying to reference Windows. And you can't unless you add a secret line of code that says use Windows Forms and you set it to true. So let's grab that and let's put it in there. Where? We put it in right after our target framework. So right here. All right, and I'm going to save that. I am going to close that. And lo and behold, if you take a look, now we've got warnings. All right, but everything else, all the errors are gone. Okay? So in essence, what we've done is we've come in here and created a new project. We haven't done real much with it yet, but we're working with it right now. Now, the next thing that I want to do here is I want to come in and I want to see. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to see if in here, in there, anywhere, do we have an app.config file? And it does not look right now as though we do. Now, you might say, well, why don't you just go search for it up here? And yes, we can do that as well. So I'm right here, and I'm going to type in app, and it doesn't find anything. Okay, so let's create one. All right. I probably could go and copy the one over as well, so we can do that. So we'll have to make some changes to it though. So let's come in here into our project. I'm going to do an add existing item, and as we've done before, I'm going to go and try to grab it from in here. And I thought we had one in here, but I don't even know where it is. So let's see if we can find it. All right, it doesn't find it. That's okay. Let's just create a new one. So file, let's add. I think it'd be new item. And this is going to be interesting because I don't know how we should add this. So let's see. Class, no interface, no form, no. Application configuration file. Now that sounds pretty good. App.config. All right. So let's work with this one. And of course, the stuff that we want to put in is in here. All right, it started this for us. We want to come in and we want to add a connection string. And I believe it's connections. Oh, geez, Louise. I think it's, oh my goodness, Jeffrey. I think it's connection strings. All right. Now, we want to come in and we're first going to do an add and we're going to say name equal. Now I'm not going to give it the same name that we had before for our database. Before we called it BMI database. Well, I don't want to overwrite the one that's in there, so I'm going to call it BMIDatabase02. And to my knowledge, at least, we can put this over multiple lines. So I'm going to say here connection string equals data source equals, excuse me, and it's data source, not data ors. Data source is equal to, so now we have to tell it, for lack of better words, where this thing is going to live. And where it lives on our own machine will be local db / mssql local db. All right. Now we're not done yet. So semicolon here, hit enter. And next we will say initial catalog. I like to line this stuff up like this. I mean, how you do it is up to you. So initial, and we don't want this double quote here. Okay. Well, don't worry, we'll get this fixed in just a minute. So initial catalog, that's going to be again the name of our database, equals BMIGUIAppDatabaseEFPart02 semicolon, finally, integrated security equals true. Now we put in our double quote, and notice the errors are all gone. What we're saying right here, this is just the version of, this is XML that we're writing here. It's the extensible markup language. All right, so this is what we're writing here. The encoding that we're using is basically, we're telling it we want to use universal encoding. We're not using like ASCII or whatever. All right, this is, I think it's universal transformation 8-bit code or something like that. All right, this is how we're configuring things. Our connection string information right here, we're going to be adding our database. We're telling it where it lives, basically what kind it is, what it's going to be called. These two things have to be the same to my knowledge, and that we're using some of the built-in security that's provided to us for us by Microsoft. All right, so file, save all, and now I can close this. And I can close this as well. All right, so this is what we have done in here thus far. Okay. We went in and we brought in all of the files from our BMI library. It was called BMI lib. We changed the name to BMI library. That's everything that was in here. All right. Then we did the same thing with the validation library, which was called validation, and it's now called validation library. We also came in and we brought in our form and our FRM, which was our startup form, and our FRM BMI stats as well. Now, the other thing I did not do earlier that I want to do right now is in my BMI library, there was something else to add that I didn't add before. What do I mean? Well, you may, actually, I don't even know if I had it, to be honest with you. So let's check real quick. I don't think I put it in there yet, to be honest with you. No. All right, so I'm going to add a new folder in here into this project. So I'm going to add new folder. I'm going to call it data, which is typically what these folders are called. Not ADA, but data. And we're going to put in here a couple files. All right. The first one that we're going to put in is, this is going to be an object. Basically, you know, it's going to be a class from which we'll create objects. And those are going to represent the records that we put in here into our table. So I'm going to add here a new item. In fact, let's just go to class. That's fine. And we will call this person, because that's what it is, entity. You oftentimes put the word entity on the end. So this is going to be a person entity. All right. You'll notice, hopefully right now too, I'm only down to 2 warnings, and that's good. All right. I want to first come in here and make this public. All right. And let's put a comment in here. It's not that we have to, but let's just put it in here anyway. And I'm going to say, this is an entity framework core entity that will be mapped to the BMI person 02 person BMI table. All right. Now, if I start putting this stuff in here, I believe at least, I'm going to get errors. I'm warning you right now, I'm going to be getting errors. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put in here key. Oops. Key. And I think it's going to give me an error already. It doesn't recognize that. It doesn't understand what that's about. But we'll see. Okay. So let's start creating this file right now. And we'll make these. The first one here is going to be our primary key. And that's what we just said here. So public int, let's call it person ID rather than just person ID rather than just ID. And we'll have the old get set in there. All right, next, we're going to have a required field. And it's going to be a max length of 50. This is the way we set it up earlier. You may or may not remember that. And, I think that's, yeah, public string, and it'll be first name, and again with a get set. All right, and I'm going to copy this, and we need one for last name. All right. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say public int height with again a get set followed by public int weight. Whoops, weight with again a get set. A public double for BMI with a get set. Not sure why it's not giving me the get set, but there it is. A public string with BMI status. And again, it'll be a get set. And let's see. A public date time for date created, again with the get set. Now, these are going to be required as well. I mean, if you're doing a BMI program and you're not going to have a BMI, it would be kind of silly. So we'll make both those required as well. Now, trying to see here, it says non-nullable property. BMI status must contain a non-null value when exiting constructor, considering adding the required modifier. Well, we just did. So I'm not sure why we're still getting that. Or declaring the property as nullable. Okay, we're getting all those. I mean, we could say equal null here. or probably it'll even take this, string.empty. That's just going to be the default value. All right, so now we've got no errors in here. As far as I can tell, we've got no problems in here whatsoever. So we now have our person entity. Notice that it automatically brought in. I didn't realize it would bring that in for us, but it did. All right, hold on just a sec. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to add a DB context file. All right, and you may or may not remember before, but let's see. C# DB context. And I don't remember where we got this from before, but let's just grab this one. All right, we'll talk about this. I think it deserves either its own lecture, all right, not in the middle of one like we are right now. So I'll be back with that one shortly.